Yes, people, what's happening? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to another opposition preview. First things first, guys, make sure you smash the like, subscribe to the channel if you are new around here, and as always, leave your thoughts in the comments below. And after making the Carabao Cup final on Tuesday night, Chelsea are back in cup action again at Stamford Bridge, hosting Aston Villa under the lights at Stamford Bridge Friday night. It's going to be a tough one. Unai Emery's boys flying high, fourth in the league, doing well in the Conference League. Got some good players. It's going to be a tough one, and we're going to have to try and overturn the defeat we suffered at the hands of Villa in the league in September. But there's loads and loads to discuss. Jhon Duran potentially linked with the move to Chelsea, Aston Villa's season, how important the FA Cup is to Villa this season. And to discuss all things Villa, I'm delighted to be joined by Luke from the Up the Villa podcast. Mate, welcome back to the channel. Great to be chatting again. First things first, before we get into it, how are you feeling about Villa's season so far? It might be a bit of a silly question, but to be sitting fourth in the league, only on goal difference, same points as Arsenal, same points as City, albeit they've played a game less. This must be dreamland for you boys.
Yeah, but mate, it's like so good, and not only just like playing well, like off the field stuff's going pretty good as well with Emery and Monchi and recruitment, etc. So the whole thing's just come together really, really well. But last season with Emery, we were pretty decent, getting Europa Conference League in the end, and he's just took them on another level. Like, we're so competitive, so mentally strong. It's all about winning, playing well, good brand of football, possession-based football. Yeah, absolutely flying. And December we beat Man City at home, Arsenal at home, and we absolutely smashed Man City. Like, we were incredible. That probably the best performance I've ever seen in my life from a Villa team. It was honestly that good. So it's going well, but we've got to sort of now maintain it in this sort of second half of the season.
No, absolutely. I mean, obviously we're in the January window now. It's about 6 days left or so. It's been a very quiet window, not just for Chelsea, Villa, but just for the Premier League clubs in general. I think there's only been about £37 million spent, which is kind of stark contrast to last January. Admittedly, most of that spending was ours, but I think it was a record spend in a January window for the Premier League. Obviously, I think a lot of teams are kind of worried about FFP rules, etc. They're probably sailing quite close to the wind in terms of that. But you mentioned, obviously, you need to push on. It's been a great start to the season, but the second half of the season, you get to latter stages of Conference League, maybe latter stages of the FA Cup. A few injuries here and there could be a problem. Do you expect Villa to do anything in this kind of last few days of the window? And do you feel that you need to in order to maintain that push second half of the season?
I think Emery always likes a small squad anyway. I think, Emery said in the past that if a player comes in that's better than one we've already got, then we'll try and make that deal happen. But I think he's happy with the squad. We have gone down a little bit of a different road in this window with Monchi. Our model's slightly changed a little bit, where we're targeting some younger players, where we've not really done that before. We've signed a really sought after 18-year-old right back in Nedeljkovic, who's played Champions League football. So he's come in this window for around 9 million. He's gone back on loan to Red Star Belgrade. So he's sort of one for next season. We're after Morgan Rogers, who scored against you guys the other night. We've been after him now all window. So I'd probably say we're going to get that one done. But more youth as opposed to sort of like X-factor players coming into the club. And I know you want to talk about Duran. So, if something happens with Duran, then we would have to make another striker signing, because we've only got Duran and Watkins. So, if Duran goes, then we need another striker. You can't just have one striker, can you? So I think we'd have to do something there.
I mean, you mentioned Jhon Duran. I think it's obviously, all Chelsea fans now, I think, even not just Chelsea fans, like football fans in general, know Chelsea need a centre forward. That's one of the, we spent all this money, but there's still a glaring hole at the top end of the pitch. A reliable operator, an experienced goal scorer that can, will score more often than not. But we find ourselves being linked with a move for an inexperienced 20-year-old. He's got 2 Premier League goals and 35 odd appearances. Was playing, I think you signed him from the MLS, Chicago Fire, not this January, last January. We'd reportedly been scouting him before he joined you. But, when the first link originally come maybe 7-8 days ago, I'm thinking, no, this must be a wind-up. Like, everything that we need, this signing would not be that at all. And then we got reports last night, stating that obviously Matt Loy is a Chelsea correspondent, but he's a massive Villa fan as well. you know, saying that Chelsea might make a pre-deadline move for Duran. For me, it's not moving the needle. It'd be purely a financial signing in terms of move Broja on for pure profit, bring Duran in, spread his cost over 5 years or whatever it might be. And it's kind of just like player trading, as it were. But mate, what can you tell me about Jhon Duran? I know 20 years of age. Obviously, there's some potential there. But, I mean, what sort of a player is he? And even move to Chelsea were to happen, would you be disappointed to see him leave Villa?
He's very, very raw. So,
exactly
again,
what we need.
you're not. Well, it fits the Todd Bowie model. Then it's someone raw, someone young, like with potential sell-on value. He's done okay for Villa. The problem that he's got is that he wants to play, and he's not playing because we've got Ollie Watkins up front. You know, he's not going to start ahead of Ollie Watkins. He's came off the bench and scored a worldie against Crystal Palace, which was absolutely insane. If you've not seen that goal, go and check it out. But yeah, he's very raw. His runs are pretty decent, so he makes some really good runs. His link-up play can be decent at times. We haven't really seen much of him. We've only seen a couple of snippets in the Premier League. European games he's played. He throws his arms around a little bit when he's not getting the ball, and he you know, he's arguing with Watkins at times. So he's a bit of a handful. He'll come on and he'll just sometimes just run on and make a slide tackle, and he'll clean someone out and get a yellow card. So he's just so raw, and he needs rounding off, polishing off. And from a Villa point of view, he needs to just get his head down and work hard. And, you know, for me, if I'm looking at Duran and I'm thinking, well, if you're not getting in the Villa team and you want game time, I can't really see you getting in the Chelsea team and getting game time at the same time. You know, if Nkunku comes back, then, you know, I see him starting. So I think you're going to be in the same. He's going to be in the same position that he's in with Villa, really. But, you know, he needs rounding off and he needs to play games. And I'm just not sure this move would suit what he needs to do, basically.
Mate, well, I absolutely agree, mate. I look at it and I think, like, I mean, it's not been reported whether it would be a permanent or a 6-month loan deal, but whatever it ends up being, if it does end up being anything, it doesn't make sense on any level, because obviously we got Nicholas Jackson, who's well, depending on how well Senegal do, could be out until mid-February at the African Cup of Nations. And Nkunku's fitness has been all over the place. Broja's not really cutting it, but I look at Duran and I think, is Duran any better than Broja right now? The answer would have to be no, or he's certainly not. He's certainly not, and he's not, definitely not better. But, you know, is he worse? Who knows? But he's definitely not better than Broja right now. I think a move would potentially be dependent on whether Broja leaves or not. But at the same time, you're thinking, well, if you're going to invest in Duran, like, what, you might as well why don't you just keep Amanda Broja and invest in him and his potential and his development? You know, you look at it, you know, it's pure profit on the books, Broja through the academy and all that, and I just look at it and it's purely financial. You know, Duran is cup tied for both cups, so he can't play. Wouldn't be able to play in a Carabao Cup final, and wouldn't be able to play any FA Cup games if we progress. And he's not gonna come in and make an immediate impact. Like, a loan deal would make absolutely zero sense on all levels, and a permanent deal, you'd think, all right, there's a little bit more sense to it, but it's still not doing anything for us. You know, when you start stockpiling players and building a squad of players all of the same age, like, that's, you know, they're all taking minutes off each other that they need to develop. So I just don't understand any thinking about this move other than it being purely financially driven in terms of profit from Broja and in terms of being able to spread Duran's cost over 5 years. It makes the books look better. I mean, do you think Villa would be open to letting him go, either permanently or on a loan deal? I know, because for you guys, you need to bring someone else in, and with like 4 or 5 days of the window left, it's getting left pretty late to find a replacement.
I think we've all got sort of FFP sort of in the back of our head now, haven't we? And I think I look at Chelsea and I just think you've got some players, and as fans, it must be horrible to just think that they are totally expendable. You know, I'm looking at Chelsea this season and I'm thinking, Conor Gallagher, leading the team in the Premier League, captain. If someone bids a value that you've met for Conor Gallagher, you'll sell him 100%. And I just think,
accepted, yeah.
And I just think that's the nature of where you are. I just look at it and think, if someone bids your value for Brozier, you'll let him go. Same as Gallagher. Probably makes a bit of sense in bringing Duran in, because he's going to be less than, he's going to be about, it must be about 30 million. That's what I can only imagine the fee would be. So if Villa got offered 30 million or 40 for Duran, then we'd probably sell him.
How much do you sign him for?
About 18.
Oh, so it's quite expensive then for a relative unknown.
So that's what I'm saying. So if we've got to sell him for some profit and some, a decent wedge. So
you're looking at 25 minimum, really.
Yeah, like minimum. Like if it was 25, I probably would say definitely not sell him, because we're only making sort of 8 million, 9 million on top of that. So, I think if you're valuing Brozier at 50, then Duran's 2 years younger, scored one more goal than Brozier this season. It's got to be around 40, surely. So, from a Villa point of view, if that got offered to us, we'd probably take it, because I just think it would set us up better for FFP. We can sign a striker that's probably maybe on loan or something till the summer, and then we've got money to spend in the summer as well. So, if decent money gets offered, I think we probably would let him go.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how this one develops. I mean, I think it's probably one of the most unlikely things that could happen in this window. I mean, I don't think at the start of January, I don't think anyone would have said, oh, yeah, Chelsea going to go and sign Jhon Duran from Villa. But, it's looking like it's definitely being thought about. It's definitely being discussed. I think a lot of it depends on what happens with Amanda Broja. But yeah, never say never. It could be an interesting turn up for the books if that one does happen. But no, I agree with what you say. Like, it's kind of confirmed my sort of initial thoughts on him, that it's not what he really needs. As you say, if he's not playing at Villa, then why does he think if you're advising him, why would you advise him to go to Chelsea, where he's even less likely to play, really? It don't really make a lot of sense. But I mean, mate, we look ahead to this game. Obviously, FA Cup. We obviously both made it through to the 4th round. I think the last thing we both want is a replay. This is the last round where replays can happen. So I think for both teams, we probably want it settled within 90 minutes. I certainly wouldn't fancy going back to Villa Park for a replay. That would make things a lot tougher for us. But mate, with Villa, obviously you're going for you're flying high, looking to qualify for the Champions League, hopefully looking to win the Conference League. Where does the FA Cup sit in the priorities? I mean, obviously it's always disappointing to go out of a cup competition, but if you were to go out Friday night, would you be that disappointed about it, given the other things you're concentrating on this season?
I wouldn't be like majorly disappointed. I really want to see Villa put in a really good performance. Like you mentioned earlier about our away form, I think we was mentioning off air. We're doing okay still. We've had a bit of a blip where we're not playing well. We beat City, beat Arsenal, beat Brentford. Could have gone top of the league. We drew to Sheffield United, lost to Manchester United, and then we've beat Burnley and drew to Everton. So our form's not been as good as what it was when we were beating Man City and Arsenal. So I think we need to sort of get back on track. We've had a week's break now, so the squad should be like refreshed after, the busy schedule of December. So I think we'll go strong lineup wise. I think we'll take it really serious, because we've got Newcastle on Tuesday. So I think we want to, build into this next part of the season. So if you ask me to rank where it lies for me, I think Premier League's the priority, then Europa Conference League, and now FA Cup is where the priority lies for me, really. But, we're playing Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. We've got to perform. We've got to play well. We've got to take it strong, because, you guys are doing really well now at the minute. So it's going to be a tough game. But, I think it's just one of them where I think both teams will probably take it serious because of the nature of who we're playing against.
No, absolutely. I mean, you obviously, for us, like the Carabao Cup and obviously the FA Cup, that's all we're playing for this season. No European football, and we're not contending for the Premier League title. And I think the Champions League spaces, unless we have a remarkable run second half of the season, are probably going to be a stretch too far for us. So I think, like, in terms of priorities, it's probably more important for Chelsea than it is for Villa. But both teams will absolutely want to go through. And I think, it's going to be interesting. Obviously, we played Tuesday night. We've had a couple of days to recover. You guys are having a week off. You'd like to think that would make a difference in terms of freshness. But then again, maybe you could look at it, well, we're going to be kind of match sharp. I know you might not lose sharpness in a week or whatever, but I suppose you could look at it that way as well. How do you expect Emery to approach this game? Because obviously at home you're phenomenal. In general, does the approach from Emery, does that change when you play away from home? I mean, I look, for example, at the United game where you were 2-0 up, and then obviously kind of capitulated and lost that game 3-2. Do you feel that Emery needs to slightly adjust his tactics away from home, or do you just have to kind of accept a little bit like with Postecoglou and Spurs that whatever the situation, wherever we're playing, this is how we're going to play, and if we come unstuck, we come unstuck, and that's just part of playing the way that we do?
Yeah, I think a little bit like Spurs, we're still kind of at the early stages of Unai Emery, really, in our development on where we're going to go. We're far from the finished article. You know, last season, our style away from home was sit back, hit teams on the break, win games by the odd goal, and we were doing that really effectively. This season has transformed our style to be more control and possession-based football. So we rock up at literally every away ground, trying to impose ourselves, have all of the ball, literally play the game in our style, and just control games, and that's what we're doing. And the odd time, well, what we're finding is that when teams sit with a low block, it's very difficult for us to break down, you know, what playing against the low blocks like. So we struggle with breaking teams down at times. That's been a big problem. The other problem we've had is the offside trap that we play, the high line that gets talked about a lot, which is really good, is that it gets exploited when our midfield don't press the opposition like effectively enough. So against Man United, we didn't have Boubacar Kamara playing, and it was literally like ball over the top every 2 seconds. Whereas generally in a game, it's sort of like one every sort of 10 minutes or go over the top, because we're pressing the opposition. So it's important that Villa get the press right away from home, and that's really important. So like I say, we're doing all right away from home. I think when you're comparing the away form to the home form, we haven't lost a game all season at home. So the away form is not going to look as good, because that's not what we're doing away from home. And I think we just, I guess, if I had to guess where we are away from home, probably about 8th, 9th in the table, maybe a bit higher. But yeah, we're doing all right. But, you know, home teams sort of have the crowd with them, don't they? They can impose themselves a bit differently. So, but I think, you know, with the way we are with Emery, to go from sort of like sitting back every week away from home last season and counter to now dominating teams, I think the progress is getting there. So, you know, hopefully as we evolve, we'll get a bit better at playing away from home as well. So I think that's how we're going to play, really. We'll try and impose ourselves. I know you guys like to have a bit of possession as well. So I think it'll be a real battle in the middle of the park, really.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the likes of Enzo and Caicedo, if Conor Gallagher, if he plays, you know, up against the likes of McGinn, maybe Tielemans, maybe Kamara, if he plays, obviously Douglas Luiz is having an exceptional season. I think he's a top player. That midfield battle is going to be crucial, like it is in all football matches, really. You know, the game can be won or lost in that midfield. From a Chelsea perspective, mate, when you look at what we're doing, I'm not saying you've obviously watched a lot of us or anything like that, but like, do you have any concerns going into this game? Yes, we're coming into a bit of form. Yes, we're 9 unbeaten at Stamford Bridge now, which is a massive improvement on what the home form has been like in recent times. We are starting to find a bit of form, even if the performances aren't the best. We do always create a lot of chances. We are scoring a few goals now as well. Is there like, how do you worry about us in any way? Is there anything that you look at Chelsea and you think, oh yeah, we're going to have to be careful, otherwise if we don't do this, we're going to get punished?
Yeah, I think with Poch, you know, I think when you think of Chelsea fans' expectation, you've been used to winning the league. So, you know, when you are mid-table, etc., there's going to be discontent there anyway. But I look at Poch and I think I've watched you in some games that you've played well and lost, and you create loads of chances, and you've been slightly unlucky. But yeah, I think you know, you're starting to get there. The signs are looking good. You're in a final now. The football's not bad. Cole Palmer's absolutely unbelievable. I think he's one of the best players in the Premier League at the minute. He's playing that well. Chilwell coming back the other night. You look a different team with him in there. You know, he just added a bit of calmness to the team, I think, which, you know, with his experience can bring with such youthful players that you've got. So I think it's all got to just come together nicely, and I think you're starting to get that balance with Caicedo in the middle. Enzo's starting to look decent, isn't he? So yeah, I think your team's good. You know, when left back goes in, Mudryk goes inside a bit, Sterling goes. So your system's really good, and I think it's just going to get better. But I think some patience is probably needed at times, isn't it? And I think that recruitment policy's just got to get sorted. Like you just can't be so sort of scattergun, really. There's got to be some thinking of how you want to play and the players that can integrate into how you want to play, basically.
No, absolutely, mate. I think, you know, Cole Palmer's going to be key. He's our most important player right now. If he has a good game, then we're more than likely to do well. Enzo and Caicedo are starting to build a partnership together. At the back, yeah, we're not keeping that many clean sheets, but Thiago Silva is still performing to an exceptional level for his age. As you said, Ben Chilwell coming back is a massive, massive plus for us. Makes such a big difference. And look, if a Broja's leading the line, all right, it's not great, but you know, sometimes he can cause a few problems. I don't know if we may be tempted to go with a false nine on Friday night. That could be a possibility, whether it's a Sterling or a Cole Palmer playing false nine, and Conor Gallagher comes back into the team. Remains to be seen. Will Nkunku be fit? You know, there's a lot of questions around it. But yeah, we've got enough to cause you problems. It just depends. Can we take our chances? And I think, you know, we're still susceptible from balls into the box, and we're still susceptible to conceding from set plays. So if you can get decent set play delivery, I know McGinn's got decent delivery. You know, I think you can certainly have, you know, cause us a few problems there, mate. Just around that, I want to ask you about Carney Chukwuemeka. Obviously, we signed him from you boys, not this summer, the one before. Last season, he was a bit part player, kind of played a little bit here and there. This season, you know, he played a lot in preseason. He was doing well. He started the season really well, got a great goal at West Ham. Then he's been injured pretty much since August, and he's come back the last couple of games. I think he's going to be a really important player for us. I really like him. How's he viewed by the Villa fans? You know, if he plays on Friday, I'm not saying he'll start because it might be a bit early for him still, but he should come on and get some minutes. Like, is he likely to get a good reception, bad reception, or kind of Villa fans not too fussed? I mean, are you disappointed with the way that he left the club? I mean, you got decent money for him in the end.
Yeah, I think we were desperate to keep him. He was, you know, one of the shining lights from our academy. Really, you know, really good player. I remember watching him when we won the Under-18s Cup, and he was really good in that sort of whole campaign. So, yeah, he's got really good ability, really technical. He gets in some really good areas. I really rate him. But again, it's like it goes down to like your recruitment as well. Like when you're signing like loads of players on such high fees and high values, like those types of players like Chukwuemeka sort of start going down the pecking order, don't they? So I think it's going to be quite difficult for him to probably like break through and get, you know, consistent minutes. So it always felt like that type of weird move that, you know, if he'd have stayed at Villa, he'd have probably have got so many Premier League appearances now. I know he got injured as well. So, yeah, I think his reception would probably be quite bad, to be fair. You know what football fans are like. Like, he's defo getting booed every time he touches the ball, probably. But, I mean, even Grealish got booed, and we all loved Grealish. Yeah. So, you know, I think if Grealish gets booed, then he definitely get booed. But, no, he's a really, really good player, and I just think, you know, he needs to play games.
Yeah, no, he does, and I think he will start to play a bit more. I think Pochettino likes him. I think he's definitely developed a lot since he first joined us. So I'm excited to see more from him this season. Absolutely. To round out, mate, score prediction. We touched earlier that both teams could certainly do without a replay. This is the last round that there are replays. How do you see this one going? Because it's going to be done in 90 minutes. Whatever happens, there's going to be some sort of outcome.
Yeah, I predicted on my channel it's going to be a draw. I think it will be a draw. I don't think there'll be many goals in it. I think it'll be quite tight. I think if someone wins it, they'll nick it. I see Villa scoring, so I'd go 1-1. It just depends on your sort of lineup after Tuesday. I think, you know, if you play the same lineup, that you've gone really strong. But yeah, I'd say I think it's going to be a draw.
Mate, I'd have to agree. Look, I'd love to see us put the same lineup out as we did on Tuesday, but given our injury record, given how our players drop like flies with such a short turnaround, I would be surprised if the same lineup went out. I would expect there to be maybe one or two changes just to freshen things up, just to be cautious with a few players. I don't know if Chilwell's ready to start 2 games back to back after being out for months, even though we need him. Look, I'd love to see the same team, but I expect Conor Gallagher might come back in. Maybe there could be a start for Chukwuemeka potentially. But yeah, I'd expect there to be a couple of changes. But mate, I agree with you. I know it's playing it a little bit safe, but as much as we don't want a replay, I honestly see a draw as potentially the most likely outcome. I would probably agree on a 1-1. But again, it depends what sort of team we put out, and it depends what sort of team you put out. Obviously, you've got a massive game Tuesday night. We've got a massive one Wednesday. Friday to Tuesday, Friday to Wednesday is enough time to recover. So there's no excuses really for not going strong. And I think, you know, the lineups will tell us how seriously kind of each manager is taking this competition in this game. But yeah, hopefully it's not a replay, but we both tipped a draw, so it could be heading back to Villa Park at some point on some midweek within the next month or so. But mate, thank you so much for your time. Greatly appreciate it. If people want to check out what you guys are doing, I've seen you on TNT Sports a few weeks back. Lots of stuff, good stuff going on there. Where should they go?
YouTube, Up the Villa podcast is where we create all of our Villa content. So head over there.
Yeah, guys, make sure you do that. I'll tag it in the title. Make sure you go over there and show the guys some love, doing some really great work there. So please do go and support them. Guys, make sure you smash the like, subscribe to the channel, leave your thoughts in the comments below as always, and we'll catch you again in another one soon.